Hello. Meeting is starting at 7:10. Thank you all for coming tonight. This is our first meeting of 2018, and I see people from Los Paseos Neighborhood Association and a few from a couple of different neighborhood associations and areas. So the people who live in Los Paseos neighborhood, would you raise your hand? Thank you. And people who are outside? And what neighborhoods are you from? Silverleaf?
Almaden Lake.
Pardon?
Almaden Lake area.
Almaden Lake?
Yeah, Almaden.
Almaden.
Golf course.
Golf course. Good. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming. So as we get going tonight, we're going to have both parties give their presentation without interruption, unless you need a clarification of something they said. But at the end of it all, when they're finished, they will be sitting up here, and you can ask them questions back and forth, and each one will be able to answer your question that you ask. Not just the person you ask it to, but if the other one wants to answer the question, they can answer it also. That's how we're going to do it tonight. So there's Los Paseos neighborhood. We're right there by Santa Teresa. I think you guys, most everybody here knows where that is, so I'm not going to go into that. So tonight, we're going to go through this agenda. LPNA business today is to approve the December 7th meeting minutes that we had December 7th of last year. And so the Los Paseos members, Los Paseos Neighborhood Association members, that agree with the minutes, or if you want to have a comment and make a modification, let us know. But all who are in favor of the minutes that were sent to you, raise your hand. All opposed? Or want to make a vote? Okay. So we'll consider them approved, and we'll set them on our website, the LosPaseosNeighbors.com website. Alan over here is our website master, and he'll put it on there. The next thing I'd like to talk about is 2018 National Night Out. Last year we had a very successful National Night Out in the park in our area. We had probably 400 people show up in that small park with hot dogs and ice cream and a giant bubble blower. Here's a new member popped in, Patty. It was quite interesting, and a lot of people really liked it. We had a blues band that really added a lot of flavor to the event. We had a jump house. We had some issues with the jump house because the little kids and the big kids were in at the same time, and we had enough control over that, and we got some negative comments about that. So this year, we're going to change it, and we're going to have two jump houses. One for the little kids and one for the big kids. And then we'll have also people to regulate that and make sure that parents aren't going to get upset about what's happening to their children, because we don't want that to happen. So the reason I have this bullet up here is as we get going, I've already registered for Los Paseos Neighborhood Association for the National Night Out. And this year, we'd like to ask members to volunteer for a couple projects here and there as we get going. The hot dog stand, the jump house, and maybe a few other things as we do along the way. So I'll be sending out an email, or Karen will be sending out an email asking for some volunteers of that. But let me stop for a second as people come in. And I want to thank Lieutenant Bob, who showed up today to give us a little discussion updates. And Dave, and Andy from Initiative, Alice, and Casey.
Hi.
Can everybody hear me okay? Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to have fun this coming August, get in touch with me through the email, and we'd love to have you help us out. we're going to have more fun this year. We've got some bigger plans coming up, so I'll be sending that out.
What's the email address?
The email address it's a strange email address, but the only one I could get has a G in it. It's Grubbery, Grubory. It's kind of like Gregory, but it's Grubbery. Grubory@gmail.com. So the next thing, we'd like to have a little look forward into 2018, and Karen's going to give us an update on that.
I don't know if I do. Can you guys hear me? Okay? Yeah? Okay. So, first of all, I want to start out with just letting you know who our board of directors is that was elected in December, since this is our first meeting. So, Greg Peck is president. I'm vice president. Amy Giorgiotti's in the back is a secretary. Barbara Knupp over at the sign-in table is treasurer. Alan Chan is member at large. And he primarily focuses on parks and the website. What else is that? Focus on?
Parks and the website.
Yeah. And then
anything else? Electrical.
The electrical, yeah. He's our IT staff for our association. And Herb Bowen is not here. He's also a member at large, and he focuses primarily on parks and coordinating other events. So we received a Beautify SJ grant for 2018. They've changed the way the grants are issued now for homeowners associations, and they kind of combine it with the Beautify SJ program. But we can still use it. We can use it for beautification projects, but also for neighborhood events. So we're going to be using it for our National Night Out, a few neighborhood mixers throughout the summer, our annual Christmas tree event in partnership with one of our residents, Frank Mata. He is encouraging people to purchase Christmas trees for their front yards, and we try to make a big event of, when people pick up the trees, and we have apple cider and hot chocolate and cookies, and it's a Santa, the best Santa in the world comes. He is a really good Santa. And the fire engine comes, the police. So it's a really fun event, and it's getting bigger each year, so that's one of the events we'll be sponsoring with the grant money. We're also undertaking several beautification projects, including additional benches for Las Paseos Park, and we're going to be planting 10 trees in the park. Those are coming up probably middle of March. We're going to be planting 10 trees. And we'll also be working with San Jose Arts to coordinate painting of 2 utility boxes in the neighborhood. These were part of the participatory budget program or participatory budget process that didn't get voted on, and we decided it's a small project that we could take on, so we're going to be doing that. So we'll be continuing to provide opportunities like this for education and engagements on topics important to our neighborhood, including developments at Santa Teresa Village Center, bridge housing, high-speed rail, the Muriel Wright Center, and Coyote Valley. That's about it for coming in.
Thank you, Karen. The meeting schedule for next year is going to be quarterly. We're going to do it quarterly this year, instead of every 2 months. It's a little bit less onerous on the members. We decided to do it on Thursday night because we've got a lot of inputs that Saturday mornings are bad for a lot of neighbors with their children and activities that they have in their families. So we're going to try Thursday this year, and we probably will throw in a neighborhood association meeting now and then on critical items that we see that come up that members want to hear about. And we'll get the appropriate people to come and give us an update. Vanessa just
texted me and said she's going to be a little bit late, so the District 2 update will be done in a second. So right now I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Rob Amortiste.
Pretty close.
You can
pronounce it.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Is it all right if I don't use the microphone? Okay. So my name's Robin Oversteg. I'm a lieutenant. I'm one of the Southern Division commanders in the patrol division. Very briefly, I've been on the department 23 years, and I've worked in enforcement the whole time. The reason I'm here, I know the primary reason you're here is for the initiative coming up, and that's the primary reason of your meeting. Mr. Peck reached out to me for some clarification on some information that came out over next door. We believe it had to do with the reasoning behind why the department wants to get the South Substation opened for patrol. The information that came out, the way I read it from next door, somebody posted, and I don't know who it was, but that the chief wants to open that substation because crime is raging out of control, or I don't know the exact terms, swinging up, whatever you want to say, in Southern Division. I'm here to tell you and look you in the face and tell you that is absolutely not true. The reasons why the chief wants to open the South Substation are all actually good reasons. We are now growing again. We have more officers. We're up to 1109, I think, on numbers. We just got approved by City Council to go to 1151. We have a lot of employees we didn't used to have, community service officers. All of these employees have cars. They have cars they need to drive when they work. We need lockers for them. We need areas to train them, do things like that. The other advantage with opening the South Substation is officers who are deployed from there would be closer to their assigned areas of work. For instance, an officer working down here, which is we call it District Yellow, would be closer. So their time when they leave the station to actually going into service and being able to respond to a call for you would be a lot quicker as opposed to coming from Taylor and 87 in commute traffic. So those are all good reasons why we want to open that. There's obstacles in our way. That building is currently full with things that it was not designed for. It was designed to run patrol out of it. But over the time, because we didn't have the staffing to put patrol in it, over time we put a police academy there. We put our training division there. All officers have yearly training that they have to go to get recertified and stay current. We put all of our community service officers there. So if we're going to put patrol into that building, we need to find locations to put all those things that, in the meantime, it's kind of like cleaning out your garage. What are you going to get rid of? Right? But we're not getting rid of anything. We've got to figure out where to put it. And that means acquiring new facilities, buildings, shipping. So there's a lot of ideas on that. A lot of it costs money. And that's also an obstacle. So hopefully that answers any questions that might have come up about why we want to open it up. It'll also be more accessible for the public if you need to go to the police department to do some business or something like that. And along with putting patrol in there, we need to be able to allow officers to book property, interview suspects, all the things that go along with police work. And so those are some of our obstacles while we're working on it. So it does not have to do with a severe rise in crime in the southern part of the city. I took the opportunity, Mr. Peck sent me the boundaries for Los Paseos, and my captain and I ran the numbers for the last 30 days within the boundaries. And I know there's a few people here from outside the boundaries, but for your neighborhood specifically, the last 30 days, we had 2 misdemeanor assaults, 1 residential burglary, 1 vehicle burglary, 2 grand theft incidents, a trespassing incident, and a stolen license plate. And then also that I'm aware of, we had 1 self-initiated event out there that was a little big. It was at Burnell and Santa Teresa where a couple of my officers stopped a stolen car and they had a foot chase. The suspects turned out to be related to some burglaries and robberies that were not created out there, or committed out there, but in other parts of the city, and were able to link them. So that was an arrest made out there, but not necessarily the crimes didn't occur out there. I don't know the location the car was stolen from, but I don't believe it was from them. So, with that being said, any quick questions? Yeah, absolutely.
I have a quick question. So, I keep hearing this thing about the commute. And so when a police officer, let's say a police officer lives in Morgan Hill, do they take their car back home with them?
The only officers we have right now that are taking home cars are if they're on call. A lot of times the detectives that are on call, meaning I call them in the middle of the night and they have to come in because of what their assignment is. Those are normally unmarked. Our K-9 officers take cars home, and our SWAT team takes cars home.
Okay. But if he lives in Morgan Hill, let's say, then he's still on the clock, so to speak, from the time he leaves his house. And would he be able to, solve crime in progress? He would be on duty?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But those are very limited. The K-9s, the main reason is they need to transport the dog back and forth. And obviously the car has, a fan and cooling for the dog and the cage and everything. But they also respond from home. So they all carry city cell phones. We call them and they respond to incidents directly from home. They don't go back to the department, get their car, and then respond. A couple weeks ago we had a shooting. I called out the SWAT team that was over on the in Foothill Division. And SWAT team responded from wherever they were. Some of them were training, some of them were at home. They all come right from there. So patrol officers, which would be what's housed eventually at the South Substation, they drive to work just like everybody else in their own car, park it, go in, locker room, put on all their equipment, attend a briefing, go out, load up their patrol car,
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay, thank you. I do not live in the Los Paseos area, but is there a way to find out if the statistics, what the changes are in the statistics for crime in another certain neighborhood or another area? I live close to here. We don't have a neighborhood association.
You don't have a neighborhood association?
No, we do not.
So we can run the numbers based on boundaries. And
okay.
I asked Mr. Peck what his boundaries were, and then we inputted that, and I was able to pull these numbers for you. We can run that.
Okay.
There is on the city police department website. There is a way citizens can look at it.
Okay.
I'm not. I would say, I hesitate to say I'm not a big fan. There's a lot of interpretation, and sometimes it can be alarming. All these icons pop up, and it looks like, oh my gosh.
I did look at something, so I was a little concerned, and I live in a higher density complex. So would we be able to maybe go through our homeowners association to get
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So can I give you the boundaries?
Yeah, I have a homeowners association. But not a,
can I give you the boundaries of that area?
Yeah, you can email me and I can get back.
I can get it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to know because I know, especially if you watch Next Door, which I know you kind of alluded to, it looks like crime is really increasing in our area. Is there a way to find out, is it steady? Is it decreasing? Is it increasing over, the last year? Because, seriously, if you watch on Next Door, people are saying, oh, it's gone downhill and the police officers are not doing anything, which I just would like to see some statistics on what's happened in the last year or so as to crime in that area.
So, what the chief's putting out and what I will attest to, at least anecdotally for you, is I think things are staying pretty steady. We're never going to get rid of all crime. That's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
We are seeing an uptick in juvenile crime right now. And that is not just a Southern Division. That is citywide. We could go on and on an entire meeting of what the reasons for that may be. But, so we are seeing an uptick of juvenile, specifically violent crime, which is unfortunate, but that is a citywide thing. I know that burglaries, my captain put out, citywide are down right now. We've really been pushing on burglaries, but violent crimes went up 1% for the city.
Not that very much as we're increasing.
Right. what's the old saying? Figures lie, liars can figure. I mean,
Yeah.
the most important part is you want to feel safe and should always be aware of your surroundings, things like that. But we do live in a big city. Unfortunately, we're going to have crimes. But I don't see a huge increase in everything right now. We're struggling with juvenile probation and some of the things behind the scenes to try and address the juvenile violent crimes. And I'm sure you've seen some of the things. We've got some wild car chases and carjackings and some really horrendous crimes done by surprisingly young suspects, which even we're not used to. Very surprised when we make the arrest and find out their true age. So,
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I don't know if these data sets, if there's comparisons already done, or do you have a sense for how safe our neighborhood is in comparison to other, similarly sized neighborhoods or such?
I don't have I wouldn't have something to compare that to, and I would hesitate to.
Well, what about reading those stats? Is that a neighborhood you'd want to live in? Or?
I actually used to live really close to here. I did not move because of crime. I moved because I needed a bigger house to fit all my kids. And I will tell you that there are a large number of officers who live out in what we call District Yellow. It's for San Jose, there's probably more police officers in this area who own homes than in a lot of areas of the city. A couple reasons. Schools are good, and we can afford to live out here as opposed to some of the areas where we might say are nicer or slightly safer. We can't afford to live there.
So where the extremely local perception is that things have gotten worse and crime is bad, when you look at those stats, would you say it's a lot worse elsewhere, or would you, are those stats ringing bells?
Anecdotally, I would say that crime is staying pretty steady.
Okay, thank you. We need to get moving along here. I'd like to ask one quick question. In our park area,
just because you organize it, go ahead.
The park. Our park. Right. There's an occasional group of kids, people, teenagers, it looks to me. They come in and go into the men's restroom and smoke marijuana. Yep. And parents with their children and stuff head into there, and all of a sudden you turn around. These guys are blaring music and pretty obnoxious. What can a neighborhood do about that? Okay. Call 311. You could be on there for 30 to 45 minutes waiting.
Absolutely.
And then if it's not a serious crime, so I'm not going to call 911. But what can a neighborhood do?
Well,
we need to.
So everybody across the state is dealing with the marijuana and the issues that have come up with it, with the law changes. It is still against the law for people under 18 to be smoking and possessing marijuana. But like you said, it's not the crime of the century. It is actually a crime in progress, so you would still be appropriate to call 911 for that and report it. And even if we don't make it out to the scene before it ends, the fact that you reported it creates a paper trail, per se, electronic paper trail, so that when we run numbers, we see here's the complaints we're getting. And it generates a way for us to focus our efforts.
That's a good change. So if there's a police officer in the area and he's fairly free, that he will stop right on.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. One last question.
Your son recently, or last year, graduated from Pioneer High School. What a fine young man. My daughter went to school through Los Alamitos to Pioneer High in St. Cloud.
Oh, okay. What's your last name?
Poshell, Catherine Poshell.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
all right. Well,
I graded your son's.
He's spending all my money in college right now. So. Thank you very much. That's nice to hear.
Lieutenant, please pronounce your name one more time.
M. Oberstick. I jokingly tell people it's pronounced Smith.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming and taking the time.
Good luck with your meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Vanessa, you want to give a few minute update? A quick one?
I'll just take a minute or two just to say hello, everyone. Vanessa Sandoval with the Office of Councilmember Jimenez. I'm sorry I'm late. I left downtown later than I should have and got stuck in some traffic. But I just wanted to let you know that the council office is diligently working on the participatory budgeting projects. That sort of, it's taken a while. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago where we had some folks come down and talk directly to the Department of Transportation and to the Parks Department and get a status update on those. Those are on our website, so as those move along, we'll be posting that information. There was recently a Nextdoor post put up by Issa about the camera, so if you have any questions about the camera project, feel free to reach out to me and I'll explain that to you directly. Some of the big things that we're working on right now is we are planning for the bridge housing meeting that's going to happen on March 1st. Many of you might have seen a memo that was released by the Housing Department announcing the top 3 sites. One of those candidate sites is in our district. It doesn't mean that we're going to be the home for the bridge housing development, but it does mean that there is a site in District 2 that will be further evaluated. It's going to have to go through an environmental review process, and that's going to take anywhere from a couple of months to into the early to midsummer. So that meeting is on March 1st. What we plan on doing is sending out a survey to folks so that you can tell us what are some of your concerns, what are the things that you want to see addressed at this meeting so that we make sure we have the most productive meeting as possible. So that's going to be coming through our listserv. If you're not already on our listserv, I'm sure Greg, I can send it to you and he can send it to everyone. But those are some of the big things that we're working on. And you'll also be getting some updates about the budget games and other things that are happening in our district regarding the budget, because that time is coming around pretty soon next month. So I think that's pretty much it.
Any questions for Vanessa?
I did want to say on this proposal that you're here to discuss, the council members currently reviewing everything that's happening. We put out a memo that we co-signed with the mayor and some of their council members on this issue. And one of his biggest concerns with this is obviously the preservation of Coyote Valley, which is a priority for him. And so that's something that we're really keeping an eye on, is how do we make sure we preserve that pristine open space that we have in San Jose. So, thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Jesse? Eddie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And you would like to? Oh, yeah. We'll jump into the presentations now. And as I said before, they'll each give their information, and then we'll have a question and answer.
Just set this up over here. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here tonight and for having us. My name's Andy, and I'm the campaign coordinator for the Evergreen Senior Homes Initiative. And the reason that I'm here tonight and that really all of you are here tonight is because our area is experiencing a housing crisis right now. Our local leaders haven't done their job over the last 5 or more years, and we need more housing. And what Evergreen Senior Homes proposes to do is to take a 200-acre parcel over in the Evergreen area. The north boundary would be Aborn Road, the west boundary of Yerba Buena, and convert this property, which is currently zoned for an industrial park, and we're asking voters to approve a zoning change to residential so we can build a community of homes for senior citizens, up to 910 units, 20% of which would be designated as affordable. And those would be given a preference for military veterans, also seniors, 55 and over. The project would incorporate environmental aspects of solar for each unit and water-saving landscaping. And there would be 30 acres of open space that would be protected within the development. Now, we feel that this is a better use of this property out in this area than industrial. Because we can see here, these are all homes that have been built up in this area over the last 30 plus years.
Excuse me, Eddie. Can you guys see the thing? I can put the chair on the table if you want it higher.
That'd be great, Greg. Yeah.
Okay, let's try that.
So you let you grab the chair.
Okay.
So we feel that the prospect of putting 5,000 or 6,000 jobs out in this area, the traffic that would entail, would negatively impact these neighborhoods around it, because there's just not the transportation infrastructure to get people out to this site on the order of car trips per day that would be generated by the number of jobs that this site can house. So we would like to have voters talk about this issue, because we feel it's an important issue, and we feel that this is a way that we can engage the community to discuss land use and housing, which are things that we just don't feel that our local leaders have done a good job over the last 5 or more years, which is why we find ourselves in a crisis of not enough housing and housing that's too expensive for many people to live in this community. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jeff Schrader. He's a vice president with Ponderosa Homes, and he'll talk a little bit more about some of the details of the project.
Thanks, Andy. Welcome, and thank you for coming tonight. I know it's not your probably favorite thing to come out hear about a project like this, but we're really excited about this opportunity to present this to the community. So this project, as Andy said, is on a 200-acre industrial site. It's a maximum of 900 units, so it's fairly relatively low density. And it's a 55-plus senior community. There's actually one nearby. It's called the Villages. You might be familiar with it. It's just like the Villages. So it's a gated 55-plus community. Almost all single-story homes, recreation center, an amenity, if you will. And also 20% of the units are affordable at very low and moderate income. So we exceed the affordability requirements of the city of San Jose. So this project has a lot of great things that the city needs. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit the general plan, which is, as Andy said, industrial. That property's been designated for industrial uses for over 35 years, and it's vacant, and it's never going to be developed for industrial uses. In fact, the trends that you see happening right now in the communities Yep. Can you hear me? The trends that you see now in the community are, everybody's real happy and excited about the Google project. It's a downtown where the jobs are going, which is great. And this is not a location for thousands of jobs and thousands of car trips that impacts on the community. So a lot of things have been said about this project by people who are not for it or opposed to it. Almost all of them are falsehoods and misrepresentations. Okay, so number one misrepresentation about this project that's been said is that all of a sudden all of the underutilized industrial land in the city is going to be converted to housing, which is a total falsehood and misrepresentation. Only this site is subject to this initiative. Only this site. Now this site, the initiative does create policies in the general plan that are supportive of senior housing, which there's a huge need for. Even the city admits in its own reports that it's not meeting even half of the need for housing for seniors in this community. So only this site is zoned and changed land use with this initiative. Now, the policies in the general plan that are created by this initiative, if the city decides